Hey guys, and now on to the blue set. The blue set's really interesting because I don't think there's a lot of people talking about it, but I think their cards are pretty strong. I just think it gets easily overshadowed by the other cards just because of plain how plain and easy to understand and how strong it is to understand like the other cards are in this game. So we'll go ahead and start with the leaders like usual. I think the blue dolphin and blue croc are both very good. Again, it's just it needs some time to explore, and it needs some time to explore. And if I think people kind of like actually put the time into it, then we can kind of discover new things with this color. But until then, yeah, they're gonna be your standard colors. But as for winning any big events, the popularity probably just isn't there, and you probably won't see a lot of representation. The dual colors, they're pretty good. It's just the issue, the four life, but having the purple color grants you access to some of the stronger board control cards in the game. You know, like your kings, your kaidos, and then you have access to queen. So these leaders are all very good. Um, I wouldn't look at you weird if you tried any of these out or you brought any of these to locals and tried to test the build out. Yeah, the first card to look at here is Arlong. Don one, you you can rest this character and choose one from your opponent's hand, and then your opponent reveals it. And then if it's an event, place one from their life at the bottom of the owner's deck. Um, this card's actually pretty good stat wise, so it's 4/5. So you're never gonna swing with it. You're just gonna try to like roll the event. But the thing is, there's not a ton of events like that being played, and it's not like there's very few scenarios where you can pick your opponent's hand like that and make them take damage. But even as like a niche little effect, sure it can work, but you can kind of play it just because it's a 4/5. But it's okay. It would still need a lot to make it really good, but if it got that support, it'd probably be doing too much, to be honest, because just taking one life is really strong. You know, Kaido's think about Kaido's burn effect. This is essentially like the same thing if it resolves. But yeah, if this if this ever got supported, it'd be pretty good. Alvita 2K counter. You know, 2K counters, not much to say. Virgo 5/7 vanilla, pretty good. Helps you have big drops to establish some board control early on. So, Greed, not as good as 5/7, you know, vanilla. And then we have the super rare crocodile. This one is it banishes when it does damage, and then when you have a Dawn one, the blue events cost one less to play. Um, this one's all right because this one actually has a counter value, so it's kind of okay. It feels a little bit better to play. Um, it's just a little bit harder to stick on board, but they do have to answer the swing, which is nice. And then on their turn, where they're trying to get over it, it's harder just because your events cost less. So it's pretty good. It's just it costs a lot to play. Now we have the rare Gecko Maria. He's okay. You only really need to use the effect once, and it's not that hard to get out earlier, especially in like the blue Dolphy, because you can just cheat him out, and then if they don't get rid of him, now you can threaten a double swing with just one card, kind of like Yamato. But you'd probably only play like two of him. Caesar Clown. On KO, place one smiley from your deck, then shuffle it. It's okay. 4/5 beat stick. It's not the worst. If they don't answer, they're gonna be dealing with a 5K swing each turn, and then you get a smiley from your deck, but that requires you running smiley, and smiley's not that good. This is okay. Smiley's not good though. Smiley's a 3/1. You know, it gains 1,000 for each card in your hand, but it's just gonna die immediately next turn because it only has 1K power, and like drawing this card probably sucks a lot. So Next we have Mihawk. This card's pretty good. The issue is that it kind of somewhat gets outshined by like nine drop Kaido. Like it's strong, but then when you compare this to something like nine drop Kaido, that's 9 cost, 10 attack with rush, and it kills something like you just kind of feel shafted a little bit. But it's still good for some other threats. But you probably play this in like two. Next we have the Jinbei. This card's pretty good, but it doesn't have the Warlords with the C type, so it's kind of only good if you're playing like maybe Croc. You wouldn't be able to play it in Dolphy because you would just have to hard summon him. But his effect's pretty strong. It's a better version of Teach. His stats are a little bit weak though, but it has a trigger, and triggers always feel good. Next we have Dolphy. Yeah, this card's pretty good. You're probably gonna play max copies of this, and if you're playing Dolphy Leader, it's just a blocker, and it does the same thing as what Perona does, and you play him on turn 2, so pretty solid card. Warlord of the Sea, so you get him off Dolphy's effect, or you can get him back, 1k counter, and decent stats, 3-4, all you gotta do is put one down on him. Next we have Kuma. He's okay. 4-5 blocker. The effect is kind of okay, but like you wouldn't really want to have Pacifistas in your hand. Ideally, you would want to get them out with like Sentomaru or something. Of course, we'll have to put the Pacifistas together. They're solid, but what really sets them apart is Sentomaru. This card's amazing. There's no card like this that exists in the game right now. So basically helps you redevelop boards and stuff like that. So if you're playing into certain matchups that kind of clear board or board control, you can play this later when you have 10 Dawn and you're like instantly gaining back your field advantage. You're instantly getting back your field advantage. So this card's really good. And then you just have the Pacifistas you need to run for them. Here's the blocker and here's the 6k. I probably wouldn't run more than 5 Pacifistas. Whatever blend you prefer to run, that's preference. So next we have Bellamy, vanilla Perona, super good. You'll probably see her in all blue cards. She just facilitates your future plays, 1k counter, pretty good card. Next we have Bowen Hancock. This card's pretty good, but it's a 4-5. It's just it's only really good in Dolphy since you can cheat it out. And Croc, you probably wouldn't be playing her, but you can slowly like just gain advantage with this card, and it's really good. And her counterpart would be like Miss All Sunday. That would be like Croc's go-to blocker to be able to get back any event whenever she dies. So pretty good card. They gain advantage, but just in slightly different ways. Boa here is a little more offensive, and Robin, she just wants to get your events back into your hand and play like that. Now we have Miss Doublefinger. She's okay. 3-4 on death. You draw a card, sure, but like you have to commit a Dawn for her to swing, and then when she dies, like she replaces herself, which is cool, but you would rather draw the strong card instead of this card anyway, right? So, I mean, if you need the name, then yeah, sure, why not? But otherwise, she's just okay. Next we have Mocha, 3-5 vanilla, not much to say. Monet, basically vanilla. That's Bones. He's interesting. You kind of want to play him later in the game when he's strong, but kind of like all the cards with like these similar effects where they're super strong in your turn, they just die next turn. So like your threat is just gone. But he is a Baroque Works name, so there's that. And now we have Bon Clay. He's actually the better of like some of the Baroque Works agents because he's a 2k counter, but then his effect actually lets you search for the events if you have to play him. And 3 cost, 4k stat line, pretty good. And then we have Galdino, Mr. 3. I think he's actually better than the other two also. He freezes a character essentially, but it's just It's just kind of awkward to find a time to play him. Plus, it's only a 4 cost or less. So actually, he's a little more gimmicky than I probably thought. But when he resolves, it probably feels pretty good. Now we have overheat. Overheat's pretty good. You can do stuff like overheat, back your Perona, and now you have 5k worth of counters if you pitch the Perona. So that's pretty good. Um, so overheat's almost always live, which is pretty good. And if you want to go a little more offensive, you can overheat one of their cards. But yeah, cards pretty good. Now we have officer agents. Play one Baroque types character with 3 or less from your hand, and this is a counter effect, so it's really weird. So essentially, what you want to do with this card is you play it, and then you play Galdino to freeze the attack. So that's how that's how this interaction is supposed to work. But it's the only card that facilitates this effect. This card's just not really good because it's not really good because why wait till your turn to counter when you can just play Galdino on your turn and freeze him then because he can't attack because the character can't attack to the end of the next turn anyway. So it kind of doesn't really matter. Now, if it had counter value, then it'd be different, but there's really no other targets to play. Playing Miss All Sunday is pointless because you're already in the counter step, so you can't even block. So the card's just not good. Now we have Desert Spada. This card's alright. So you have 1 cost and then you get to rearrange the top 3. It also has a pretty good trigger, so it's pretty worth running. Now the next event, Crescent Cutlass. So basically, if your leader is Crocodile, you can return 1 character with 5 or less to the owner's hand. Pretty good. It's like a soft jet pistol, but it's kind of hard to find the room to run these, so that's why I'm just putting it in the B tier. And now we have the Baroque Works card. It's basically like the in 2 years return to Shaboni, except this one doesn't have the trigger. And in lieu of the trigger, their card pool is a lot bigger, so you get to search the events too. But the thing is, the events and the characters aren't that great. The best targets to search are probably All Sunday, Mr. 2, and then Crocodile himself. But then again, this one's too high, and these are just kind of there. You don't get anything that kind of helps you win the game per se. But when more cards come out, this card will probably be really good. The promo card 4/5 Crocodile, yeah, this one's not good. It doesn't even have blocker. It needs Dawn to have blocker. Next is Law. This is the promo Law. He's not that good because for your opponent to have 6 cards or more in their hand, that's kind of a lot. They kind of have to already have taken 2 damage or something like that. And 6/7, I'd rather just play the 5/7. So there's that. Edward Weevil. Yeah, this is a vanilla. And now we have the super rare structure deck Crocodile. I didn't give him too much thought to begin with, but a 5 cost 6k blocker, just thinking about how good Queen is, I might actually give this a shot and just use this as a straight up blocker. And then that Dawn effect, and I might just ignore the Dawn effect and just use him as a dedicated blocker. But he's alright. Maybe he belongs here. Gecko Maria. He's really good in the Dolphy deck. He just gets back any Warlord or any Thriller Bark Pirate. It's super good. Lets you get back your blockers and stuff like that. And he has a good stat line. So, pretty good card. Mihawk is probably your go-to 2K. It's actually really good with Gecko Maria because he's a Warlord of the Sea. So, free 2Ks are nice. Jinbei, vanilla. Law, here's your dedicated 1k blocker. Really good. Also really good with Gecko Maria because you get him back, so you get to go wide with 5 Dawn. Next we have 7 drop Doflamingo. Yeah, this one's pretty good. I think it's a little bit better than the Mihawk just because you can play it on 7, so it comes a little bit earlier. Returning the card to the hand doesn't really like solve the problem, but like against certain decks, like it it puts their bodies on board back. So like if you're playing against green or purple and they heavy commit, uh, a 7 drop kid or or a king, it kind of gives them gives them a dead card while you get to have a beater on board. So I think he's probably one of the better top curve cards. Now we have the structured Akuma. This card kind of sucks. Desert Spada. You might as well just play Desert Spada or just play Verona. So then we have Buggy, Vanilla. 3 cost Hancock. She's pretty good actually. 1K counter and the trigger is actually pretty relevant. It kind of saves you from losing certain games that you should have lost. So, but she just comes out of nowhere. Plus she has the 1K counter, so even if you draw her, it's not the worst. Teach, he's pretty good. He comes out whenever you're trying to close out games. So, but you probably want to run a you probably wouldn't want to run more than like 2 copies, just because it's kind of hard to play 4, you know, in Dolphy at least. If you're playing Croc, you're probably just gonna play the other Jinbei over him. Sobbles, this card's pretty good. It slows down your opponent a lot, but it's just the trouble is trying to find the space in the deck for it. Next we have Tharspod Cannon. Yeah, this card is like neat, but it doesn't do enough, you know. So it's just okay. And then we have Love Beam. This card's pretty good. Overeat's probably just a little bit better because it's a little more active all the time. Love Beam is kind of hard to control what you have and when you have 3 or less, because you're always going to be up on advantage early. What blue is probably missing is like a really deep, like a good card on like the top curve, because like the other decks just have like really strong bosses, and like all blue gets is like these like slow beat sticks. But I still think the deck's pretty good just because their leaders are strong, but we'd have to test to figure out more.